Well, we're still in January. We're still in the garbage dump of movies. I just came out from watching Replicas, the latest movie starring Keanu Reeves. And we never knew about the existence of that movie. At least I didn't know about the existence of this movie until last week when they finally began to show ads of that this movie is coming. But considering that it's January, I was thinking, man, maybe it's not gonna be as bad as, well, Escape Room, because Escape Room was a kind of decent, but had this crazy ending. No, they decided to leave some of the garbage dump right now. Yeah, you can tell. Replicas wasn't good. Wasn't good. It didn't make me angry, I admit that. Because I can... Oh man, I'm talking about this movie is gonna be a little bit of a chore. Especially that this movie was a bit of a chore to watch. Let's put my ideas straight. First of all, let me tell you guys is that I don't hate Keanu Reeves. I actually like Keanu Reeves. Seriously, I like him. I like Keanu Reeves. Even in his other roles, I don't think that he's bad. Even when he's kind of emotionless, I think that he should be put on the correct roles in order for him to work on. I mean, he can work as because I can see that there is a little bit of charisma in his emotionless acting. I think I'm probably gonna call him kind of like a stoic actor. Once in a while, he can be in bad movies. I mean, like everyone else. But that doesn't mean that I have this disgust to Keanu Reeves. But I will say that this one I kind of blame mostly the director, the direction, and all this stuff. And it's funny because Replicas kind of went on a vibe on probably it has a theme that is about cloning, which when used well it can be interesting, but when done bad it can be, well, ridiculous. Personally, I do find it interesting, the theme of cloning, about knowing if a clone is exactly a living being or something like that. And when I think about it, it's technically a little bit the same dilemmas that we got in when we talk about artificial intelligence. Funnily enough, I think that this movie tried to put some of those elements there. But unfortunately, this is one that it wanted to play clever, but somehow missed the mark and went for another way. It wanted to become another generic sci-fi film. And it leaves you very confused, saying that, okay, movie, what were you trying to do? And it's time for me to say why this movie kinda didn't work. And it became one of the million parts of junk pile up in the January month. So, okay, Replicas is about Keanu Reeves. It plays this scientist who work on this kind of like a medical organization in a hidden island in Puerto Rico, and he's on a big research where he tries to find ways to transfer the mind of dead people into into robots. And we have this, and we started out with this scene of him making that research, trying to transfer the mind of a dead soldier into this robot that kind of looked like they pick it up from the set of iRobot. But it kind of fails when the robot begins to panic, saying that, "Who am I? Who am I? That's not me! That's not me!" And of course, since this is a big project, it means that it costs a lot of money. But that's just a little bit the basis of the movie, because the real meat of the movie comes up when we see that Keanu Reeves has a family. He has a wife, the 3 typical children, and also we got, the typical middle son, the typical teenage girl, and the cutesy wootsy little girl who is on screen only to act cute because we just want her to be so cute. Okay, I was a little bit sarcastic, but that's the best way I can describe these kind of characters. So what happened is that they were going on a trip on a car in the middle of the rain, but unfortunately they had this horrible accident in which it kills everybody except Keanu Reeves. Because apparently Keanu Reeves has the powers of unbreakable. I'm serious, because he just comes out of the car without any injuries or broken bones or anything. But the rest of the family, no, they're all dead. So him, in a state of panic, he calls his co-worker and friend called Ed, who was played by, what was the name of the actor? Thomas Middleditch. And he's like, "Hey, you work on the research of cloning?" Yeah. "I can use my experiment to transfer the mind, and we're gonna revive my family." Are you fucking serious, dude? Are you really out of your mind? No, yeah, but I have to do it. I have to save my family. Dude, you know that the risk that involved. It's not first, it's not gonna be exactly your family. Second of all, it's a process that was never done. There's no guarantee that they're gonna come back from the dead and all this stuff. And also, this procedure costs lots of money. Yeah, but we're gonna get the equipment. We have the equipment. Dude, that's stealing. That's stealing. But I have to save my family, all this stuff. Yeah, basically, they just, he's so distraught that he just convinced the other guy to be his accomplice so he can create, well, clones from the dead family. But there is also a catch. First of all, the transfer method of the mind. It has some, well, let's say that it's on an experimental process that they don't know what it's gonna be about. That they're not gonna be the same. They have to be restructured in the mind and all this stuff. And then there's also the problem that they can only afford, and they could only get 3 pots for the cloning experiment. So that means that he had to choose who should be the family who is not gonna get the chance to be cloned. And he, at least luckily for me, he picked up the little girl, because I think that I wouldn't last any minute to this sugary cuteness of the little girl. And yes, I know it's kind of sad, but the movie kind of didn't feel that it earned that in a way. It felt like, the typical guy who gets into an accident, then he gets mentally insane, and he finds ways to go against nature and the nature of death, and he just tried to revive the family. And now that I think about it, it kind of feels a little bit like a horror movie / something a villain will do. Or, if written well, kind of like an anti-hero distraught guy. But, man, and let me tell you this. This whole process of the cloning is almost 60 or 70% of the movie, because man, that the pacing that it goes slow and slow and slow. It's so slow that it gets boring. But if it's not get boring, you're gonna be baffled by, well, how they write the main character. Because technically, if you put your mind on a little bit on the morality area that you see, our main character is technically unlikable. What he does, it's kind of out of desperation, and is really, really selfish to not take responsibility and accept that, yeah, it's tragic, but still, he's using his family as guinea pigs. But the biggest concern that I got mostly about this movie is how he treats his partner in crime. Because almost during the majority of the movie, it's like his partner is doing the how can I say, all the work. He was the one, and he was also the one who actually kind of acts like the comic relief / voice of reason to our Keanu Reeves character. But unfortunately, he just like the original Pinocchio, he's being like a Jiminy Cricket who gets squashed by Pinocchio. I'm serious, that's what happened in the original story of Pinocchio. I mean, man, it's everything he does, even at the start, it's like, dude, this is a bad idea. No, I have to do it. No. Help me. Fine, I'll help you. What are you gonna do with the corpses? Get rid of them. Why don't you get rid of them? I can't do it. Fine, I'll get rid of them. And and then he goes like, dude, there's 3 pots. I needed 4. We can't. It's you know how expensive these things are. You have to wait a month. Fine. I'll do it. The cloning process takes like 17 days. 17 days. But it has to be on constant power. You need energy. You need to be energized constantly. What happens to electricity? Okay, I'm gonna steal the car from the neighborhood, and he steals it. And then he's like, okay, but I must choose one who is not gonna be lucky. I'm gonna sort it out. You choose it. No, you choose it. Do you see what I mean? And then the whole movie, it still goes on and on and on, even to the point where we finally get what the movie promised, which is the cloning. And honestly, I will say that this character who is pushed around by Keanu Reeves is probably the only likable character of this movie. The other ones could either be, Keanu Reeves being an asshole, or the family being as bland as you can tell from any of these kind of stock movies. Or we have technically the guy who pesters Keanu Reeves because he's his superior. He's kind of like the crooked businessman played by John Ortiz, who is like, hey, how's it going? Do you have my algorithm? I mean, if you don't have it, you're gonna be fired. Oh, typical cliches that you find in these kind of movies, that they don't try too hard. You might be asking something. Okay, if they're gonna revive 3 of them, and they're gonna implant them the memories of the dead. How Keanu Reeves is gonna explain that the little girl is dead, that she's not there? he erases any memory of her. He just apparently memory is kind of like a computer, and he's like, okay, I'm gonna erase from them any notion of memory that they have from her. We don't know how, but okay, sci-fi. Sci-fi is kind of like magic. Let's think the character of our main character even deeper. You remember that I told you that they explained that the cloning process takes like 17 days? You might be thinking, okay, then what about family and friends? They might be worried. I mean, his wife worked at a clinic, and I think the son was also in a group of Fortnite, I think it was. So the character Keanu Reeves doesn't tell anybody about what happened during those days. So he had to infiltrate their smartphones, laptop, and other stuff, and he has to lie about that. So he begins to lie to everybody. He tells them, "I'm sick. I got chicken pox. You're my you're my daughter's dating a boy. No thanks. She's grounded." In a way, if this movie wasn't taken seriously, I almost thought that this is a typical comedy that you're gonna see in every sitcom. And here's a little bit of the sad thing. Underneath this sci-fi invented fantasy of cloning, the movie kind of sometimes wanted to go into the territory of the morality of cloning. Like I said, about they sometimes gave out some interesting ideas about what would the clone feel, what is the meaning of life, how is a clone really alive or something like that. Sometimes and that when you create an artificial person from a dead person, it's technically not exactly the person. It's still a well, for the sake of argument, let's say that it is still kind of like a living thing, but it's not. But constructing a person is not exactly kind of like something that it can be done by science. Nor I will say that divine intervention if I don't want to go too deep into religion or something like that. It wanted to go there, but then the movie drops it. It kind of drops those. And I'll get to that, by the way. I'll get to that. Because it goes a little bit into autopilot on where it wants to go. And then on almost during the second half, we finally get the family cloned. They finally get up, they kind of are hungry, and they kind of begin to show some, how can I say, some secondary effects. For example, their coordinations. They're not well adjusted. I mean, and also they feel different on their metabolism or something like that, and also they begin to have to. They begin to feel like they're remembering something. You know, the daughter that he tries to make them forget because they don't want to traumatize them. And now that I think about it, that is disgusting. And guess what? It goes nowhere. They drop those. They drop this. They totally dropped this. This movie drops plot points like used tissues. Okay. At this point, I am feeling that I am spoiling you the movie, but I have to say it. Much like the other one, the last movie that I just saw, which is Escape Room. I have to tell you about the climax, because the climax is everything what that culminates on where the hell are you going, movie? Because after all this padding and all these things that they never established, apparently Keanu Reeves tells what is happening to the clone of his wife, and she's like, "What have you done?" and all this stuff. Although she didn't get the kind of like the reaction that the robot had. Oh, I have to talk about this robot. I'll get to that in a minute. And then almost during the climax of the film, the sleazy guy, again played by John Ortiz, he's like, "Hey, where's my algorithm? I knew that you were doing some sleazy experiment. I mean, look, I know that your family is cloned, but if you don't give me my algorithm, I'm gonna kill your clones until you give me what I want. Why do you want it? Why are you so desperate about it? Oh, didn't I tell you? Where you're working is not it's not a medical industry. We're actually a weapon industry. They want the algorithm so they can bring dead soldiers and implant them into the robots. And they're so desperate for the results because, not only because it costs money, but they also very desperate because they went there. Oh, I'm not gonna say anything, but from what I said, you know that I went there. And it goes to this chase scene that it goes in autopilot, that it culminates with the capture of the family, and then he goes there and it shows that our likable character, the Thomas Middleditch character, he's the one who told everything, because I mean, he was reasonable. He was like, they will find out eventually, I had no choice and all this stuff. And then we got this Western style confrontation, I'll say, which ends up the guy shooting our favorite character. Our main villain shoots shoots our what's supposed to be our only likable character, and of course Keanu Reeves had a plan. He had a backup plan that he uses his own mind transfer, that because in the middle of the movie he decided that I'm gonna experiment on myself. I'm gonna extract some of my mentality into the robot. I don't know how the hell did he get out without having some brain damage. I don't know. And now come to think of it, it involves a needle going through the eye, and doesn't that he doesn't have any scars of blood there. It's a very bloodless movie, and trust me, people, that anything that has to do with your brain, it is very risky. But whatever. The movie kind of saves itself because Keanu Reeves apparently transferred part of his mind into the robot, which goes into iRobot mode. And seriously, it does look like the robot from iRobot. And he breaks habit and beats the shit of all the bodyguard, and of course our main antagonist. Oh, and I want to also mention that the robot is kind of weird. Sometimes I don't know if it was total CGI or they wanted to make it practical, but I was in a mixture of saying that, is this robot well animated or badly animated? Because there were times in which the robot kind of moved and you kind of notice the lot of frame rates that it jumps around here and there. It looks kind of jumpy or choppy in a way. And it kind of gave out a little bit of a mixed feelings. In a way, it looks creepy, and probably the desired effect that made it look like the older movies than which how the special effects were done. But in this time and age, it kind of becomes a little bit questionable. But anyway, what happened again? The robot, how can I say? He beats the shit out of it. He leads our main villain to almost the verge of death, and he asks Keanu Reeves. He goes face to face with Keanu Reeves, and he's like, "Hey, how does it feel?" Okay. So what you're gonna do? I have a plan. You go with your family. Oh, and I have to say this even for the ending. Because this ending is it's not so what the hell like Escape Room did, but it's still a little bit baffling. So the movie ends with Keanu Reeves with his clone of the family in the beach, because they go to a deserted tropical island where he can finally be easy with the family. He even made the clone of the little girl who they kept pestering about. And God forbid he resurrected his best friend, who was the one who was technically the voice of reason to everything, but no, he just left them there. Oh yeah, it's because he was shot on the head, and when he was shot on the head by a brain. Nice friend you are, Keanu Reeves. And what about robot Keanu Reeves? Here's the thing. Before the main villain dies of blood loss on his brain, he's like, the government will chase them. Oh, no, they don't. Unless we can make a deal. How about if I transfer your body, make a clone of your body, and I'll make sure that you're gonna be rich. Okay, see you on the other side. And yeah, to end the movie, we get a little bit of a time skip in Dubai. I think it was Dubai or Mumbai, India. And what happens is that the main villain, apparently resurrected or cloned, he apparently organized a multi-millionaire company where he greets this paraplegic old man, gives him the money, so that the robot, who is the head of the company, the head scientist, he's just there and it's like, okay, I'm gonna give you a new body, so stay still. Wow. I have seen many movies in my life, but it is rare to see in which good and evil have a win-win situation. Both sides win. Well, I'm not gonna say that Keanu Reeves' side is a good side, but still, if you're gonna put in a morality of good guys versus bad guys, it's kinda rare to see that both sides win. It's somehow. Oh man, this movie was ridiculous. This movie was ridiculous, and at this point you might be questioning, hey, didn't you say that the movie was supposed to be kind of like clever? No, it didn't, because how did it came up with this? The movie wanted to say to build up. It has an interesting element. We wanted to explore about the themes of cloning, but then drop it out to make it this action sci-fi film that decided to drop off all the elements that probably wanted to make an interesting movie. It didn't make it couldn't make up its mind if it wanted to make an intelligent movie or a sci-fi movie. Either way, I would have loved to see, no matter what direction would have done, or if you want it on both ways, you could have done it well to balance it out. And the more I think about it, it kind of reminds me that this is a movie that it felt like it wanted to be kind of like Ex Machina. Ex Machina was well, I know that the Ex Machina was also a little bit slow, but it remained stable on the thematic about, you know, the artificial intelligence life, if we have to respect it or not, or something like that, and what are they capable of, if they're capable of love and also betrayal. So I do recommend mostly Ex Machina instead of Replicas. This Replicas was technically a very, very, very washed out bum of a movie. I didn't want to say this because I wanted to support Keanu Reeves, but the more I think about Replicas, it kind of brings out the lesson of this week. And the lesson is that keep consistent on your themes. Don't forget them. Don't forget them. I have nothing to say. Replica was just boring.